RWBY is a world of color. Color is the first thing we were ever introduced to with this show. We weren't just given a trailer, we were specifically shown the red trailer. I think people tend to forget that RWBY isn't simply an oddly spelled acronym, but it's also a shade of red. Color isn't just important to the show as an aesthetic point, but also has importance within the show's lore. People are named after colors to show discontentment to oppression and war. However, I feel that over the years, RWBY has forgotten the importance of color. I've got a couple of different topics to touch on with this, and since I've literally got a degree in this stuff, I figured I might as well put it to use. So buckle up as we take a look at the color of RWBY. The original 4 trailers have left a lasting impression on not only the fans of the show, but a larger general audience as well. Even if someone doesn't watch RWBY, there's a pretty good chance they've seen the red trailer, or at least a screenshot from it. These trailers pop and come to life, and it's not just the beautiful fight choreography that animation that does it. It's the style that these trailers just ooze. Stark black and whites with a splash of color makes RWBY downright striking. Even if the show were animated in 2D rather than with 3D models, RWBY would look totally unique to its contemporaries. And this style followed through into the first volume. Mostly. While the Forever Fall Forest keeps its limited palette from the trailer, the school, Emerald Forest, and docks all lack such elegance. The greens pop and are bright, but it still just looks like a forest. More industrialized locales are filled with colors and grays, missing the nuance from the original sets. Junior's Club is a good example of how to keep the established palette of the show included into an urban setting. And what exactly is this established palette? Why, it should be obvious. Red, white, black, and yellow. Well, only kinda yellow. We'll get to it. These trailers focus on these 4 colors not just as a way to showcase each member of the team, but also connect the girls to the world. Everything is designed to heavily feature these colors. Dead, black trees and the white snow surround RWBY. Weiss seems to fight the armor guy in a pitch black room. The red trees can always be seen in the background of Blake's trailer. Yang gets to see the dance floor fluctuate between red, white, and black as she handles Junior's Goonies. Now, you've probably noticed that there's a distinct lack of yellow anywhere. Yang's color goes pretty unloved within the sets, which to some degree I can live with. Unless you stick the kids in a field of flowers or in a desert, yellow's just not gonna jive super well in the background. Luckily for our sunny dragon though, yellow is often utilized as an accent color in character design. From Glinda's hair to the buttons on Torchwick's coat, the characters pick up the slack for the sets when it comes to the show's 4th color. Which is a good thing, because you'll notice that most character designs from early RWBY includes as many of the main 4 colors as they can. Heck, even the girls' uniforms follow this color pattern. Red, white, black, and yellow pervade throughout the show, not only creating a sleek, consistent style, but also subtly hinting that Team RWBY is important to some degree. However, this unfortunately stops in Volume 2. Sets become gray and muddy. This world no longer pops off the screen, and the muted palette makes the characters feel too bright in comparison. With the addition of background characters no longer being black silhouettes, the hard red, white, black, and yellow palette has also fallen to the wayside. Background characters are put into a full rainbow of colors, with none of the previous palette to be seen. This is also seen in the main cast as well. While the rest of Team Sun, Emerald, and Ironwood do a good job keeping these core colors, the other recurring characters introduced into this volume don't hold up as well. Mercury only has gray on him, and Coffee sticks to brown and green. Neo's palette is overall softer than most others. And this continues into Volume 3. Characters become muted by this point. RWBY's reds no longer pop out at you, but rather blends in with her black dress. Yang's hair no longer shines like before. Overall, there's less emphasis on RWBY's colors, and more emphasis is given to each character's specific color, and this trend only continues into the latest 2 volumes. Even though the animation looks great, RWBY's just not as visually striking anymore. Yang's gone from yellow hair like fire to just blonde. RWBY's outfit features practically no red in it. Weiss has stuck herself into grays and blues, and Blake's covered all of the black in her outfit with white and purple. There's a reason why it's easy to think of the original trailers, but it can be hard to think of what Menagerie or Haven look like. They've got no style. There was a brief moment when we were given these vibrant colors again. The pre-volume 4 and 5 character shorts. Well, mostly just Weiss and Yang's. Reds and yellows are vibrant, blacks and whites are stark. They even managed to incorporate Yang's color into her setting, but if we look at the volume that followed it, dull, washed out colors everywhere. Red, white, black, and yellow are no longer important, and color itself has decided to fade in terms of set and character design. Where colors were once paramount, they seem to have become an afterthought. Red like roses, white snow. Characters originally featured one main color. While sometimes their color was a little more difficult to figure out. What? Red's color is pink, not green? It was usually clear from a glance what color should be attributed to a character. After Volume 1, the creators made the rule that everyone had to be named after their color as well, which subsequently made Nora, Pyrrha, Ran, Glinda, and Penny stand out a little, but we'll let that slide. However, as the show went on, a character's featured color has become less and less important, to the point that referencing a color has just become a naming gimmick. Oscar's last name is Pine, which is a shade of green. I thought at first that his pants were an olive color, but they're just brown. The kid has no green on him, save for a square or two on his hanky and half of his eyes. When I look at Oscar, I focus on the white of his shirt, or the orange of his gloves and overalls. His hair's not even green. Why name him after a color he doesn't wear? Similar to Oscar, we've got Tyrion. Tyrion is a shade of purple, but aside from his eyes, sometimes, there's no purple on him. Why not make his hair a dark purple, or give him a purple accent on his white clothes? This guy's name is Henry Marigold. Why they chose to name him is beyond me. But more importantly, why did they name him after the color yellow, when the only yellow on him is his eyes? Why not blue? Or red? Now, getting worked up over a minor character with 1 minute of screen time is pretty dumb, but this problem includes the main cast. Kali has practically no purple on her, even though she's meant to feature Belladonna purple. Hazel's most predominant color is green. Even Team RWBY doesn't seem to care about their color anymore. Stick the black character in a giant white coat, even though she's on a tropical island. Why give Yang any yellow to wear, when brown and orange are apparently good enough? And now, I'm not saying I want to see these characters in just one color and nothing else. That would be dumb. But if color is going to be so important to your show and its lore, don't you think it should be a bigger consideration when designing a character? If you've seen some of my other videos, you'll know that I hate Vernal and Raven's designs because they don't have any spring colors on them. In a world of color like this, if you're gonna have some characters represent a season, they should show that visually. Now, you might be wondering, but what are some colors that would work for spring, or any of the seasons? Well, that's what I'm here for. There's a bunch you can do with each of the seasons, so I'm gonna harness the power of studio art and color theory to explore all the different palettes that would successfully evoke each of the different seasons. I think the most logical place to start would be spring. Now, spring's actually really easy to pick a palette for, because it's the most diverse. Spring brings new plant life, and animals come out of hiding. Spring is associated with new beginnings, which means utilizing colors that would be right at home in a baby's room. You've got, like, every different shade of green available, and pastels of pretty much any other color. Soft yellows and pinks evoke new flowers. Spring needs to feel light and bright. Dipping too dark into any color would lose the new beginnings vibe. Summer is hot, which means keeping with warm colors. However, it'd be wise to avoid many reds, as it's more well-suited for fall. Yellows and oranges are obvious, but maroons, dark greens, and yellow greens also work for summer. Medium blues could also work, but only in small amounts. Vibrant colors are the key here. You want everything to be saturated to give it a sunbathed feel. Fall is probably the most limited of the four. Reds and browns are a given, but faded yellows and oranges also portray the falling leaves of the season. The trick is to keep your colors muted. Autumn is often overcast as the plant life starts to wither and die. Black also works best for the season, but can honestly be worked into any of them with some effort. Winter is easy. Whites, blues, and purples of all shades and hues. Sticking to washed out or lighter shades could really accentuate the cold nature of winter, but isn't necessary for this aesthetic. Dark blue-greens also evoke the look of evergreen trees, and could be used in tandem with these other colors. Now, I realize that pastel baby colors don't jive super well with a bandit aesthetic, but to be fair, neither does a giant-ass white coat and 4-inch heels for a ninja aesthetic. And yeah, that's a hurdle they would have to face. When your world is so affected by color, you will eventually come across a character whose personality or lifestyle doesn't go well with their designated color. But that's the point of having character designers. They don't just draw up a pretty outfit and call it a day, they need to work with the directors to make sure that a design is accurate for a character and all the aesthetic necessary for them. When given a character to design in RWBY, they should hopefully be told the basic details of their personality, a preferred body type, a fairy tale they're inspired from, weapon and fighting style, and a color or optional palette to keep in mind. Character design can be difficult sometimes, especially when your show has such strict rules to follow. With everyone being named after a color, it can be difficult to find a way to incorporate that into their design, but it seems as of late they don't even try anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if the designers aren't told what color a character's meant to be, and then the writers just pick a color without considering the character's design. It also wouldn't surprise me to hear that the writers and directors barely discuss a design with their artists. A director gets the final say on character and set design, which means it's up to them to make sure a theme stays consistent. I get that keeping to 4 colors can feel limiting, but that's part of the challenge when you choose to have such a distinct style for your show. Keeping such a stylized show consistent is hard, I get it, but when it's done right, the end result is striking and memorable. In a world where so many new shows come out so often, having yours look distinct can help it rise above the rest, which means it's a shame how RWBY's forgone that. In these latest years, RWBY has lost that edge, and while the animation looks better every year, it also has less impressive visuals. The stylized look of the first 4 trailers has all but been forgotten in favor of having RWBY look like every other show on the market, but animated with 3D models. If the creators of RWBY don't want it to be forgotten, then they'd do well to remember what made it so visually impactful in the first place.